Hi, my name is JD and this is my channel Frost and Forest. So today I'm going to do something a little bit different. This was something that I was thinking about doing on my own, but I decided that other folks might be thinking about this too. So I decided I would try to do this with a camera. And then I thought it might also be kind of fun if I made this a game. So here's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about this deck. The Little Bird Tarot, it was a deck that came out in 2024. It was created by Shanna D here on YouTube, and it is a really beautiful deck. It is a deck that has, I'll just show a few cards, has some older Audubon images of birds that have been put together to make a tarot deck. And so this is just a deck that is definitely my vibe, especially this spring. I used this deck a ton when the birds started coming back. And so, I use this deck. I like this copy of this deck that I have. But something that I've been thinking about is that there is a new edition that is on pre-order right now. I think the pre-order at least goes until September 6th. And I don't know if she's going to have decks after that or not, but kind of before September 6th, I would like to make a decision about whether I want to pre-order the newer edition. And the biggest reason why I'm considering pre-ordering the newest edition is because of the background color of this deck. It's kind of a yellowy color. I think that from the perspective of it kind of feels like an older deck in these older scientific images, that yellow kind of makes sense as like sort of an old document feel to it. But it does make this deck a little bit hard for me to pair sometimes, because especially with decks that are really white forward, it doesn't go very well. And so, I kind of have it in my head that this deck can be a little bit hard to pair. I have had a couple of decks that I pair it with a lot when I use it. I'm considering getting the new edition because the color of the background is a little bit different. So one thing that I thought would be cool is before I go ahead and pre-order the next edition of the deck, I want to explore whether this deck is actually hard to pair or not. Because honestly, I haven't tried that hard, and I have a reasonable collection. So, I want to see if I actually feel like I do need the second edition because I'm having trouble pairing it or not. So I guess what I'm saying is come play with me while I explore different pairings for the Little Bird Tarot. So just starting out, these are decks that don't really count. They do count, but these are basically the two decks that I pair with this deck. The Cottage, which is a very beautiful oracle deck created by Krista here on YouTube as well. And then the Spiritual Meaning of Birds is a new-ish mass market deck that came out that also kind of uses some of Audubon's image, or is at least influenced by Audubon's images. And so these are the two that basically I pair it with. So I have two. But I am going to see if some of my other oracle decks work as well. So let's get started. Oh, and basically what I did is, I should say this out loud, I basically went through all of my shelves of decks and I picked any oracle deck that I thought could possibly pair well with this deck. I have quite a few decks all around me right now, so this might be a relatively long video. We'll have to see. But I want to see how many decks I can find to pair with this deck. I'm just going to get started and start showing you decks. The first one that I'm going to show you is, the Vintage Wisdom Tarot. This is one that I actually saw on Danny Mystic's channel as a pairing with the Little Bird Tarot. But Danny has a trimmed down copy of this deck. And so I wanted to see if the Vintage Wisdom goes well with the Little Bird Tarot, even if you don't have it trimmed down, because my copy is definitely not trimmed down. So let's take a look at deck number 1. Okay, so right away, and I tried to do this in like direct sunlight as well to try to really see how I liked these. And so right away, I will say that I do like this pairing. So this is number one. That is a new pair. The next one that I'm going to try is the Oracle of the Living Spell, because as I mentioned, it just kind of lives on my desk. So I figured I might as well just get that one done first, or early on. So let's see. Oh, I like that. That is pretty, well, as it gets a little bit brighter with the sun. Huh. So this pairing is not as amazing as I'd hoped it would be, but I think I could definitely see myself using it just because I like both of these decks. But see, then there's a card like that, and that card looks really good with it. Whereas other cards that I was seeing with it, the yellow wasn't quite the right yellow to go with this deck. Yeah, I'm just trying to find an example of that. Like in this deck, it just, the colors don't seem quite right. But I could still see myself using this pairing just because I like both of the decks. But I think that this one is a maybe. Okay, this is one that I always kind of want to pair with this deck. And this is the Green Witch Oracle. And I think I like the idea of pairing it because the art styles feel very similar. But I think that this is a good example of one that I'm not sure I would actually pair them together, just because the background colors feel not quite right to me. So I think that this one is a no for me. Another pair that I'm going to show you is, this is the Women of Myth. This is actually a deck that I sort of rediscovered again in a recent tag that I did. I pulled it out for that tag, but then I have been using it a lot. And so I just want to see. So like here, the white doesn't match perfectly in this card, but also the gold in some of these cards I think matches okay. And like some cards like this that have some more of those different kind of like yellowy tones a little bit. I don't know if tones is the right word. But yeah. And like even with this card, I think that I could, you know, this card doesn't match beautifully, but like you can see some of the orange, different color oranges are similar here. And so I do think that this one pairs. So this is my second for sure yes. This is the Heartwood Oracle. And I actually brought this one out very particularly. I kind of consider the Heartwood Oracle similar to the Woodland Wardens, but I know that Woodland Wardens doesn't pair super well with this deck because the white doesn't work super well. But looking at this one, the art style is obviously a little bit different. And like some of these cards that are more golden don't match perfectly. But all of that together, I think I would definitely pair these ones. So this is also a yes for me. Another one that I was thinking about, and this one I'm not as sure about because I think it'll really depend on how the backgrounds look with each other. This is the Enchanted Blossom Oracle. So these backs are clearly a slightly different color. And you can see it more on the camera than you can see it in person, I feel like. But at least from what I'm seeing in person, I think I would pair these. Because in some ways, you know, again, on the camera, it makes this one look more yellow. But in person, they look like this is sort of a lighter version of this a bit more. At least in my opinion. So yeah, I would pair these. This is another yes. Okay, what else do we have? Oh, so the next one is one that I've talked about in other videos about how I'm having trouble, like I haven't been called to use this deck very much. And so I'm curious how this one will look with this deck. And so this is the Herbal Astrology Tarot. Oh, yeah. I'm not as sure about this one. Again, this one feels very brown. And this feels very yellow. Yeah, I think that this is a no, just because the colors are a little bit too, this is a little too brown and this is a little bit too yellow. You're on to the next one. This one I really was hoping will pair well because they both have that older illustrated art feeling. So this is the Oracle of the Roses. You know, I was a little bit worried about this one, but actually, surprisingly, I think this one is okay because this like sort of caramely color or kind of light or kind of a yellowy tint to it that's supposed to make it look more parchmenty actually kind of matches the little bird. So this one is a yes. I would pair this with this one. Another one that I'm going to try with the Little Bird Tarot is the Arcana Folia Oracle. Ooh. This is a deck. The Oracle is a deck that I got on Kickstarter. I believe that this one is coming out mass market. So if you're interested in this deck, definitely keep an eye out for that. This one is coming out mass market. But oh wow, I definitely like these two decks together. They both have that sort of same plant forward vibe to them. So yeah, like look at how beautiful these greens are together, and just like the greens and that in the kind of coppery color that's in these two. This is a definite yes. This one is, and I'm very not sure about this one. This one is the Land of Giants Oracle deck. Ooh. Okay. I actually kind of really like this one. These two together. Maybe not as much that one. But I kind of like the contrast between the sort of purple and yellow tones. And again, not trained in art at all, but I think that purple is kind of on the opposite end of yellow on the color wheel. Is that true? Like, look at how beautiful this pairing looks together. Just, this looks really pretty. So I think that this one is definitely a yes. And this might be a little bit biased because I did try to intentionally choose decks that I thought might work. This one is the Medieval Oracle of Beasts. So the first thing that I noticed about this one, oh, and one of my cards, I accidentally got kind of messed up, which is too bad. But it still works, and there are a lot of cards in this deck, so it's fine. So one of the first things I noticed about this is that it is artwork from 2 different time periods, which, I mean, I guess could be said for all of the decks that I've showed you, but they just both feel like historical art from different time periods. Now, that said, you know, it doesn't quite match that tan, but, or that one either. But like also this color kind of matches the stars. Yeah. Yeah, so I think that, you know, even this card that's a little bit more brown, I think I could see pairing these 2 together. So I think that this is a yes as well. The next one that I have, and I'm getting pretty close to the end. This was supposed to be my last one, but I think I thought of one more deck that I'm going to go grab quick. But first, this is the Song of the Grandmothers Tarot. The art style in this is very different. But when I get cards like this that have a lot of the greens and the yellows in them, yeah, see, like the cards like this, I think pair really beautifully. But I think that this one might be a maybe because I think some of the cards look really great together. And I think I could see myself using these 2 as a pair because I really like both of the decks. But visually, I don't think that this one is my favorite. So I think that this is another maybe. There's one more that I want to try. And this one is either going to look really good or it's going to look not so good. So we will find out. So the next one I'm going to show you is the Roses, Dust, and Ashes Oracle. And I'm curious how these 2 do together. Because again, this has, you know, very yellow, and this one is very leaning into different shades of tan or brown. And so I kind of felt like it would either look really good or not look good at all. And unfortunately, I don't know that I love these 2 together. Essentially, the reason I did all of this, as I said, is because I am trying to, 1, figure out if it is in fact true that it is hard to find a pair for this deck. And 2, depending on what that answer is, do I want to pre-order the 2nd edition because the background color is a little bit lighter. I found that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I found 8 decks that I would be okay pairing with it. And that is on top of the 2 decks that I already pair it with all the time. So that means that I now have 10 decks that are a clear yes. And then, as we talked about, there are 2 decks that were a maybe because they don't match perfectly, but they're both decks that I really like, and so I could see myself trying to pair with them in a certain situation. And so what does this mean for a pre-order? What this says to me is that basically I was wrong, that this deck I have a lot of decks in my collection that I can pair with this deck. And actually doing this, I found a couple of pairings that I'm particularly excited about. I think these 3, again, I like the purple and the yellow and the way the purple looked with it. I think these 3 are 3 that I am particularly excited to try to work with this deck. So again, that means that I have the 2 that I like to use, and then I have these 3 that I definitely want to try using the little bird with. I think what it comes down to is I am not going to get the 2nd edition. And I think that that's because for a number of reasons. One, I have the 1st edition. I really like it. It is a beautiful deck the way it is. 2, I actually found a lot of pairings that I could see myself pairing this deck with. Even though, that I could see myself pairing this deck with. And then I think 3, I don't necessarily know, it's hard to tell from the walkthroughs that I've seen of the 2nd edition how different the background of the 2nd edition actually is. It's possible that I still would have this problem a little bit, even with the 2nd edition. So I think for me, at least, the right decision is to stick with my 1st edition. That said, this is a really great deck, and if you didn't have the opportunity to get the 1st edition, I think it makes a lot of sense, if this is a deck you're excited about, to get the 3rd edition, because it really is, it's a great deck, it has a really great guidebook, and I really like it. Thank you so much for coming along with me on this little adventure. It feels a little bit like chaos to me right now, because there are decks everywhere on my table right now, but that said, this helped me make a decision. So what did you think of some of the decks that I said yes to? Do you think that you would pair them with a Little Bird Tarot? Or do you think my style is a little bit different than yours? I would definitely be curious to hear your opinion in the comments. And I will also say, if you would like this video, if you enjoyed it, that would be great. That helps my channel grow a little bit. And as well as if you are interested in subscribing, I would appreciate that as well. I cover tarot content mostly. I do 1 video a week. I focus on, the decks that I'm using. I focus on, things like this that are activities that I'm thinking about and I thought other people might find interesting. I also show some new decks that I have, just kind of all kinds of things. So yeah, if that's something you're interested in, you might want to subscribe. But anyway, thank you so much for stopping by.